There has been no shortage of questions about this investigation, which is odd, since the DA and the police have actually provided a lot of information about exactly what happened and how it happened.
He forced his way into the home through a rear glass door by breaking that glass. The defendant made his way upstairs to the second floor of the home, locating Mr. Pelosi in his bed sleeping. He woke him up, confronting him about the whereabouts of Speaker Pelosi.
But apparently, since this is Paul Pelosi, husband of Nancy, there has to be more to the story. Something they aren't telling us. Some conspiracy, even though there's no evidence of it. But they're just asking questions.
How did this homeless drug addict even get inside the house? No one has been able to give us a straight answer about that.
We know he got inside. And once he was inside, what exactly happened next?
I don't know what went on. I know enough to smell a rat. There's something going on here that they're not telling us. I just don't know what it is.
Except they told us a lot, more than they usually do, including about the moment of the arrest.
2 police officers arrived at the front door 2 minutes after that 911 call. When that door was opened, the defendant was holding his hammer, which Mr. Pelosi appeared to be attempting to control by holding a portion of that hammer. The defendant then pulled the hammer away from Mr. Pelosi and violently struck him in the top of his head. The police then immediately apprehended the defendant. What we also have learned is that the defendant brought to the location of the Pelosi residence a second hammer, as well as zip ties, rope, and a roll of tape.
Those just asking questions want you to believe that there's some sort of cover-up.
You can't blame people watching all of this at home for thinking that maybe there's something weird going on here. Parts of the official account don't seem to make any sense.
Except it does. The one issue many on the far right seem to be focusing on is this comment from the police chief on the day of the arrest.
So when the officers arrived and knocked on the front door of the residence this morning, the door was opened by someone inside, and the officers observed through the open door Mr. Pelosi and the suspect, Mr. DePappy, inside the entryway of the home.
Someone. So must have been a third person. There was an inaccurate report in one place, but not from the official sources. They clarified it again on Sunday.
When the officers arrived on scene, they encountered an adult male and Mr. Pelosi's husband, Paul. Our officers observed Mr. Pelosi and the suspect both holding a hammer.
They were the only 2 people there. Nothing inconsistent, nothing nefarious. But everything in this case is now subject to being twisted. Even his political views, which the affidavit which was released made clear that he reportedly said to authorities if Nancy Pelosi were to tell DePapp the truth, he would let her go, but if not, he'd break her kneecaps. He later explained that by hobbling the speaker, she would need to be wheeled into Congress, which would show other federal lawmakers that there are consequences for their actions. Joining me now is Dan Kerman from NewsNation affiliate KRON, who was in court today, and criminal defense attorney Caroline Polisi. Thanks to both of you for coming on the show. Appreciate it. All right, Dan, first let me start with you. In terms of what we saw in court today, the guy's in a sling, apparently dislocated his shoulder. How did he look?
He dislocated his shoulder during the arrest. Officials say that's how this all happened. He was in a sling. He only said one word, which is that he waived that 10-day rule for the preliminary hearing. Likely the preliminary hearing date is going to be set on Friday, and it will likely happen before January 4th.
And the Pelosis are now going to be able to watch on a live stream any future hearings?
Well, this is something that has been in place in the San Francisco courtroom since the beginning of COVID. They have allowed this Zoom link. It was apparently set up for today, but for some reason it didn't work. But this isn't something special that is being granted them. This is something that they've been doing along the lines they have said since the beginning of COVID.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.